So coming to discuss Beauty Boss, creating your lane in beauty, I have Danessa Myricks, Sheika Daley, Julissa Bermudez, and Simi Moonlight, also known as Simi Moonlight, and Maya Allen.
Real one.
Yes. One more round of applause.
Yes, energy.
Yes. Don't you all just feel this like boss energy? Like I feel it collectively in the room right now. I'm so excited and honored to be here today for the Creating Your Own Lane, How to Be a Boss in Beauty, with the most iconic women who have all paved their own paths.
No pressure.
They need no introduction, but I'd love for you all to take us back to the very beginning of your career and share with us your origin story and how it all started. Danessa, we can start with you.
Oh my goodness, how far back?
Where do we begin?
You know, I always grapple with where the real beginning was. I'm like, was the beginning like all of those moments where I was feeling like outside of beauty? And was that where everything was being crafted for me?
Yeah.
Like, what really was the beginning?
Yeah.
But I would say the beginning of my career was, I was 30 years old working for a publishing company. And they published beauty magazines. And that time, I did not look like how I look today. Back then, I have to say, I was a little nerdy and not in beauty at all. I didn't even wear makeup back then. I think the most I wore was blue eyeliner. Wow. But it was a publishing company, and they published beauty magazines. And I really got my first look at like what it feels to be a part of the beauty industry. And it was just all these beautiful Black creatives, photographers, makeup artists, hairstylists doing their thing. And I really, it just did something to me on the inside. And so about a month later, my boss came to me. He was like, okay, I'm closing down this business. I was a single mom with 2 kids. I had a newborn and a 7-year-old. And he was like, we're about to close. You have to just figure things out. And I'm 30 at this point, and I'm like, okay, so do I go get another job? Or do I do this thing that gave me the butterflies? Wow. And I think I just decided to enter into beauty. I taught myself how to do makeup, and then here we are today.
Incredible. Julissa?
I'm thinking to myself also, how far back? Like from when I was stealing my mom's makeup far back? But for me, it's traditional media, being a TV personality and host, and sitting in makeup chairs and really finding the love, and also not having the budget all the time to be sitting in makeup chairs and having to figure it out, because I was not gonna say no to the opportunity just because I didn't have a makeup team or the glam. So that's really where the love started to build, and then I started to figure out what my look was gonna be, and it kind of just snowballed. And for my brand, that was just literally being at the fork in the road and thinking to myself, okay, what can I do next? How can I pivot? And where does my passion lie? And it is very much in the beauty space, and that's kind of how it's gotten me here. But it really started with, which is wild because I was a tomboy growing up. I have 3 older brothers, and my mom was, I had that element, but I always would still, pick like the super cherry chapstick, aging myself because I want a little color.
Yeah.
But, so I was like, back then it was the style. It was oversized clothing. It was TLC. It was the lives. So I was, kind of balancing act, and then just throughout sitting in different makeup chairs and learning from makeup artists and being in front of the camera, and then having to figure out how to get myself to look camera ready by myself without, very many resources.
Right.
I think that is a good way of kind of bringing it to where I am today.
Amazing.
Ooh, child. So I don't know if I have like a very specific beauty origin story. I think beauty has always been a part of my life. My mom, she's not super into makeup, but I think growing up, just watching her kind of learn new avenues to showcase herself, really taught me how to showcase myself. And for context, my mom is Ugandan, so in Uganda, like makeup was not like really, at the time, it wasn't really a thing. So when she came to America with my dad, it was like she's like seeing all these people with makeup, and she's like, oh, what's going on over here, you know? So I would often like sneak into her room and like steal her little makeup kits and her lipstick. And I think in terms of how it evolved into a career, I think for me, I just really wanted to showcase myself as like the most authentic version of myself, and I really didn't care whether or not my presentation was perfect. I mean, if you scroll back on that Instagram, you're gonna see block eyebrows, okay? You might see a little messed up eyeshadow. You might see me with red lipstick like 15 times because I just didn't wanna let go, you know? But I think it's like, I really learned that beauty is, in general, like a process, you know, like above all. So I think that's pretty much like my origin story, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Sheika?
That's a girl.
Where do you
Mine is similar to Simi. It's been a part of my life forever. But my connection with makeup has been directly with my mother. She's a painter, she's an artist. And when I was younger, I used to dance. I was a ballerina, did that whole little thing. And my favorite part was not practice and all of that, it was the recital. But not because we got to show off our talents, but because my mom got to do our makeup backstage. And I remember one time, she did myself and my sister, and then all the other moms were like, can you do our daughters too? And by the end of like 30, 40 minutes, she had done all the girls in our dance troupe, whatever, and she was like this hero with one little Fashion Fair palette. I don't know if y'all know that Fashion Fair palette from back in the day. It had that rice paper color, that black, that blue, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I saw her make up, I mean, and it wasn't just all black girls, it was girls of all colors, and she did it, and they were just like, and I was like, oh, you did that with a palette? You did that with makeup? And then watching her paint and, you know, her showing me color theory and how to hold a brush, so that's really my origin. It's been stamped in my head like forever, so my mama.
It's so beautiful. I feel like as an editor and a beauty director, I'm always thinking about the storytelling in each of your stories. And what you all just proved is that as women, we all contain multitudes, and we're dynamic and we're multi-layered. And so I would love for you all to share, what was the inflection point in the moment when you were like, okay, I'm an artist, and like I'm not just an artist, but I can also monetize my passions into something that's profitable? Because I think we're all in the season of investing in ourselves. So what did that moment look like for you in terms of really taking your brand and turning it into a full-blown business?
I think there's a lot of different moments. The first moment, I would say, I think it kind of, you think about it from like where you are in your life. When I first started doing makeup, like I was broke with 2 kids, right? So all I could see was my next meal. So success was somebody paid me, right? And I knew that I can do this. But then I think as I evolved in the space, one of the things that I leaned into very early was education. And I used to teach classes to hairstylists who wanted to learn how to do makeup in the salon. And I think that's what really started it for me, because I think when you start serving on a different level, a lot of people talked about service today, when you start giving on a different level, things really change. And when I started teaching, that's when everything opened up for me. And those little classes of like 5 or 10 people turned into being asked to teach on a grander scale, like at hair shows or whatever, and wanting to like make that a business, I started making DVDs, because I was like, I can't like be everywhere teaching, so I'm gonna make these DVDs. If anybody has one, please throw that out. She's like, I got everyone. But I started doing DVDs because I really wanted to figure out how to scale, right? Because up until that point, you're just doing a face and somebody, it's like transactional in this moment. And I knew just from my experience in business that that's going to be a very long journey for me. So I was always thinking about how can we scale. And so making that first DVD changed everything. Like we sold hundreds of thousands of DVDs all around the world. Before there was like Instagram or TikTok or any of that, I was like, you want a DVD? And I think that's where it started. And I think at that point, I started thinking about the space very differently, because when you do something like that, you reach a lot more people, and you begin to see your impact. And I think, you know, once I got past like trying to eat and trying to feed my kids, and I was able to like live, you start thinking bigger, like how can I affect change? And then, like, it's beyond you. You're like, how can I start affecting the world? And as you start thinking bigger, just everything opens up. So I think from the very beginning, from people believing in me and wanting to learn and whatever, that's really where it started. Like, I began to see that I have some value. And then it was just like, how can I expand that?
That's beautiful. I love that. Think big.
Yeah.
Julissa, how about you?
I would say I start off as a fan of just growing into learning what my look was going to be, or how can I achieve it on my own without always, again, relying on a team of professionals and all the things that I was learning from the professionals. And then I just really turned into a full-on fan of beauty, and would spend way too many hours in, you know, Ulta and the stores where you could just, I mean, it was like a candy store for me. And then I would say it started to pivot when I really got to a point in my career where I knew that things were just changing so rapidly, and being on traditional media on TV. TV is like, what is that even anymore, right? It was just happening so fast, and I didn't want to rely on a phone call from my agent. I also wanted to, I figured out along the way of being a fan, things on the market that I personally thought could be improved. Then I started DIYing and making those things myself. And then that sort of snowballed into my friends asking me, like, oh, what are you using on your skin? Or, you know, oh, dang, girl, your skin feels so soft. And I'd be like, oh, your skin doesn't feel like this? So.
That's just like
right? But the thing is, you know, I was born in Dominican Republic, grew up in New York, and then I started going back to Dominican Republic, and I realized, wow, my skin in the Caribbean feels so different than what it feels like when I'm in New York, because of the harsher climate most of the months that we have here. You know, in the Caribbean, you're glowy, you're hydrated, you're dewy, all the things. In New York, most of the year, you're dry, ashy, flaky, trying to figure out how you're gonna get some hydration and get to that Caribbean skin. So I literally just started thinking about, if I'm gonna enter the beauty space, I wanna do it in the most authentic way for me. I certainly don't wanna be, you know, everyone's gonna eye roll another brand, right? Another, you know, quote unquote, you know, person in the limelight or in the front of the camera trying to do a brand. So I wanted it to feel authentic. I wanted it to be something that was going to be different. And that's really why I started with body care, and I treat body care like skincare. So essentially with República Skin, inspired by Dominican Republic, where I was born, I'm giving you Caribbean skin in a bottle.
Yeah.
That's what I
love that. Love that.
That's what I thought would make different in this lane. That was really creating my own lane, if you will.
I love it.
I love that.
I love that, yeah. So for me, I am the brand, you know.
Yes.
Period, you know. So for me, I think when I realized I could make myself into a business, was really leaning into what I felt made me the best version of me. And I think what that was leaning into my authenticity and realizing that I don't have to present myself as perfect. I don't have to present myself in any sort of way to be considered beautiful. I've had a lot of trials and errors in beauty specifically. Like when it comes to hair, I think there's a lot of conversation, particularly with Black women, like, you know, how we're supposed to wear our hair, what's the healthiest, what's the best. And I have always decided I'm gonna do what I wanna do, okay?
Yes.
And I think that's been the best lane for me, like just doing what I wanna do and being very, very adamant about not allowing outside opinions to affect how I view myself, but then also how I view my beauty in the context of the world, you know? And honestly, because of that, it's like the strangest thing. I used to deal with such deep insecurities, especially like being a dark-skinned woman. it was just so interesting, like when people will come up to me and be like, "You're so beautiful," and I'm like, "Girl, I look crazy right now." You know, like in my head, that's what I'm thinking. But I realize what they're seeing is like what I had been teaching myself, which is that beauty is from within. You know, like that's what they're seeing. They're seeing that aura, they're seeing that energy, and they're realizing like, oh yeah, this person is gorgeous or this person is glowing. And I'm like, girl, I just came back from the gym, but thank you, you know? So I think that is really what helped me lean into making it into a business, like realizing like, okay, cool, like I just have to be me. And I always tell people who want to be creators, just be you. Like there's no formula, there is there's strategies you can utilize, sure, but the reality is that you have to be yourself and you have to be able to capture your essence in a way that is true, in a way that is honest, and in a way that is authentic, without necessarily like feeling the need to overshare, because I think that's also something we struggle with a lot sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Especially on TikTok.
That's what we were supposed to do.
Right?
Yes.
They said 5 to 6 times a day.
Right? They said 5 to 6 times a day. They did. No, I think oversharing is subjective, you know, so I'm not one to judge. Like I don't look at vulnerability as oversharing, and I think a lot of people do. I think oversharing is like just divulging details that might not be necessary for the story you're trying to tell. Yeah. You know, like being, like, I feel like when people discuss beauty online, sometimes like they jump into discussing all the things that they hate about themselves. To me, that's oversharing, because one, girl, like, we don't see what you see, you gorgeous, okay? Yeah. But then two, there's a way for you to share what you feel insecure about without necessarily like, degrading yourself, you know? So that's something I definitely had to learn as well. But I think the biggest thing for me, like in terms of monetizing, in terms of making myself into a brand, has been being authentic and being honest about how I want to share myself, when I want to share myself as well. You know, I know they say 5 to 6 times a day, girl, it'll be once a week sometimes, okay? But that's okay, you know, like whoever's gonna tune in is gonna tune in. Right. And I also think I haven't allowed myself to get caught up in the like rat race of it all, where it's like, oh, the race to 1 million followers, or oh, the race to 500,000. Like, it's like, I'm just doing what I want to do, you know? And like, whatever is for me is for me. The checks that are for me always gonna reach me, period. Yes. And it's like, you know, like I don't allow myself to kind of like get caught up in the rat race of it all, because I think that is actually what helps me maintain my beauty as well. Like, I'm like, girl, I'm going to sleep.
Yes.
Okay? So, yeah, I'm going to sleep, okay?
Boundaries.
Right, yeah. So I think that's what it is for me, yeah.
In Spanish, they say, lo que está para ti, nadie te lo quita. So what's for you?
I was going to try to repeat it.
It's essentially what you said. What's for you, no one can take it.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
I love that.
Absolutely. Back to my mother again.
Period.
I used to work at the strip club. I don't know if you guys know that story. And every night, I serviced maybe 50 to 70 girls a night.
Wow.
And I had to buy lashes for them every single night. And I used to go to Sally's. We didn't have all these great makeup stores back then, right? So buying a lash, each lash at the time, what I thought was expensive was $3.49.
Yes.
Right? Because I used to get them at the beauty supply store for $1.99. It was 99 cents at one point, then it went up. So I was buying 100 pairs of lashes every single day at $3.50.
Wow.
Right? I'm gonna add that up, right?
Yeah.
And one time I went to the store with my mother, and she was like, girl, why are you buying all these lashes every single day? You know you can get them wholesale. And I was like, what is that? I was like, come, let me show you. So she showed me where to go and where to look for and whatever. And I was like, oh, that was a game changer for me. So that kind of showed me how I could take something that I didn't think had even existed for me to create, and then I can kind of start it from scratch. From there, I pivoted and I started working with Trina. And we were on tour doing our things. And Trina has big, beautiful eyes, which needs more than one strip lash. The lashes back then are not the lashes now.
Yes.
They were very sparse and thin. You had to stack them together and do your whole thing. So I need to put 3 lashes on her. So I didn't, at the time, think of a way to do it without her tripping. So I did one, And then I did more glue, and then I'm going on with the second one, and she's looking at me like, where are you going with this third one? So I'm like, okay, she needs it. So I came up with a little plan. I'm gonna stack 3 lashes together. I'm gonna create my little fluttery thing or whatever. And I put them on her, and she had no idea that it was 3 strips. And I was like, oh, I can create my own lashes, and these girls will never have, like a clue. Then I started working with Kelly Rowland, and I created one of these styles for her, just for a photo shoot. She was doing an event, and she kept it for 3 months. She was doing this little mini tour, and I didn't know that until I saw her after the tour because I wasn't with her, and she was like, I've kept this one lash for 3 months. I've used it for every single show, and I was like, girl, what? I didn't even know it lasted like that.
I didn't know that was possible.
Right, but she took such good care of it.
Wow.
And that's what sparked, and that's kind of what started Allure Lane and the lash brand, because I realized that something that I made with my hands, this major celebrity kept it for 3 months, something that I had disregarded once I had given it to her, not even thinking that it was anything special. And for her to vouch for it the way that she did, I was like, oh, you have something here. And that was the birth of Allure Lane, and that's where we are now.
And then your packaging said up to 3 months.
That's marketing.
Right.
From what I hear from all of your stories, there's just this core of being authentic and being true to yourself. And I think when we talk about our careers, we have to also think back to the character building moments and the moments that do feel scary. And how do we bet on ourselves and move through fear in those moments? So I would love for each of you to share the biggest lessons you really had to overcome during those character building moments behind the scenes that we don't see on social media or that we don't, see, that our audience don't see. So what does that look like for you? And how do you move through fear in order to continue to bet on yourself?
Of course, you're gonna start with me. If I'm gonna be fully transparent, I'm scared all the time. What I've had to learn to do is learn how to move past it. And so whenever anyone comes to me to ask me, like, okay, I want to build a brand, what did you do to be successful, whatever, I'm always like, the first thing that you need to do is to find a way that you could focus on you at all times and work on you. And I think every leap that I've made in my journey has only come not necessarily by what someone gave me, an opportunity someone gave me. It was more about what I was ready for, like mentally and spiritually. Yes. Because I would say no to a lot of things. Like a celebrity would say, oh, you want to come on tour with me? I would say no, not because I didn't want to go, but just because I was scared. And so there was so many moments in my life where I was the person holding me back. And so it's even now. So I always tell people to prioritize you and your mental space, your confidence, and whatever that looks like. I had to make sure that there's daily practices that I'm doing. Whether I want to or not, I need to sit my butt down and close my eyes and meditate every single day. I'm always conscious about what I'm reading, what I'm watching on TV. I'm living on a podcast. I'm always trying to learn, because the bottom line is really about me, right? And how I can be a better me. And so I think that the biggest way to push through fear is to build yourself up enough, up enough so that you have the capacity to feel it and move beyond it.
Wow, so powerful. Yes.
For me, I got told so many no's in TV and in entertainment that I'm like, what's another one? At the end of the day, we're human. We all want to be seen. And when someone does see you and recognize you and tells you that one yes lasts for up to 3 months. And then some. And then, one goal breeds a new goal and a new goal. But honestly, the entrepreneurial journey has been really interesting for me, because the community, and especially beauty, going from so many no's in entertainment and then getting the yes and then going from there. But I have found that in the entrepreneurial world and where I'm in now, my era,
Yes.
my entrepreneur era, as they say now, I have found so much support. The amount of people that are ready to say whatever you need or give advice or share resources when you're in this entrepreneurial world is fascinating compared to the world that I originally started in, where everybody's out for the same role or the same thing. That it's not as open arms. So there have been, in entrepreneurship in itself and building a brand and not having it be turnkey and doing custom formulations, and I don't come from knowing anything about CPG, consumer packaged goods, and having to learn all of those things and still learning and still recognizing when you need a team. And right now that's something that I'm recognizing. At the end of the day, I know my strengths. Yes, I thought I was a genius when I figured out my Shopify. These are things that these are things that I certainly never thought I would learn, but the amount of hurdles and around the journey of it all, I took the word hard out of my vocabulary because I overused it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Everything was like, this is too much of that word.
Right.
So I replaced it with challenging because challenging feels as if you can at least rise up to the challenge.
Yeah.
Hard felt like such a hard stop. So in all of that, and if I'm going to be specific about things that have, not gone my way when it comes to the beauty lane and building the brand, one example, and I always like to share this one because it gets a reaction, is, I ordered 10,000 boxes because if you know about a brand and when you're building it, them MOQs, and the more volume you buy, the lesser the price goes down from $3.49 to wholesale $1.99. Right. I ordered 10,000 boxes of my brand. They misspelled the name of the brand, so now I have 10,000 boxes that say República instead of República. So that was certainly what do I do with the boxes now, right? So you just are constantly having to figure out solutions, and you don't throw away the boxes, you just put a sticker with the right name over the wrong name. And you keep it moving, guys.
We make it work.
So, never-ending learning here, so.
Do I even have a follow-up? So the question was about
moving through fear.
Moving through fear, right? Okay. I actually have a great story for this. So funny enough, I went to college late. I always talk about that as being I used to consider it a failure because girl, I'm African. My mom was like, girl, what you doing? But I went to college late because I decided I wanted to go on my own time. And obviously, this was before, I was online, but I wasn't making money off of it yet. So I was still working traditional jobs, and I was doing marketing gigs here and there, consulting gigs here and there. And I got really lucky with that. But one of the biggest fearful moments for me was I lived in Atlanta and I really wanted to move to New York. And this was before I graduated. I was just about to graduate. I was like, okay, I'm gonna move to New York at the end of the year, all these things. But no job wanted to pay for me to move. It was insane. So I was just like, well, I'm not going on $1 and a dream. I know they be talking about that. Yeah. That's not me, girl. Okay, I like nice things. I'm not doing it. So I actually gave up on the dream to move to New York, and I decided to apply for jobs in Atlanta instead. And I was like, you know what? I'll just check back on that dream next year. And I put it on the back burner. And then I went through this entire process with this really big, well-known energy drink company, and I was making it all the way through, basically, just for them to tell me that they needed someone who had a different type of experience than me. So they actually rejected me, and I was super devastated because I was like, girl, I'm broke as hell. I need a job right now. I don't know what's gonna happen. And then I want to say 1 to 2 days later, they actually called me and said, hey, we actually have a position open in New York. And I want to tell y'all what happened in those 2 days, okay? In those 2 days, I felt like I really was learning how to trust myself. And I think for me, like moving through fear is all about trusting yourself.
Yes.
And I think like my whole life, even since that moment, right? Like I ended up getting the job, they paid for me to move to New York. I did not have to pay any money to move there. It was a dream job, like straight out of college, it was crazy. Like I was like, whoa, I actually did not expect any of this to happen. I was expecting the least possible like outcome, and I got the most possible outcome because I took those 2 days to be like, okay, girl, whatever happens for you right now is what's meant to happen. Even if it doesn't look the way you envisioned it, it's supposed to happen that way. And I was just telling myself that over and over for those 2 days. I had no idea they were gonna call, by the way. So that process was gonna keep going, basically, until something happened. But it only took 2 days until it worked out for me. And I think another example of that is like when I finally got that job, I got a whole nother job, and then I was like really in my big girl job era. And I actually had started working at a social media company as head of marketing, which is like a big girl job, you know? And I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy, oh my God. And I actually met my manager, and we had also started working together. And it became this situation where, do I continue this dream that I think I'm supposed to have because I'm an adult and this is what adults do? Or do I do the thing that makes me feel the most autonomous in my life? And it was another test of like trusting myself, you know? Like I was trying to stress myself to death, trying to figure out both worlds. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the 9 to 5, I'm gonna build this marketing department, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna do my influencing, I'm gonna post on here, I'm gonna do my brand campaigns. And it got to a point where I just literally couldn't do it. Wow. And I was like, do you trust yourself? Yes or no? And I told myself yes, and I quit my job the next day. And I have not had a job since then. And that was like 3 or 4 years ago, you know? So for any fearful moments, I think trusting yourself and knowing what you're capable of and knowing what you can push through is the most important thing. So yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yes.
Well, mine is a combination of all three ladies. You're not getting anywhere if you're not scared.
Wow.
The closer you are to the end goal is the most scariest place to be.
Wow.
Right?
Wow,
So
wow,
just
wow.
know that if you don't feel it, if you're not frightened, if you're not nervous, if you're not all of these things, you're not doing the right, you're not in the right direction. And I can take from what Danessa said, like, it all actually works with you working on yourself.
Yeah.
You have to trust yourself. You have to trust your vision. When you're creating these things as a product developer, you're by yourself. You're in a room. You may have a couple of people you can ask their opinions on. But before you place that $10,000 order or 10,000 item order, you need to make sure that this is the color that you want. You may have had, I can tell from Danessa making her product, she's had thousands of options. I know with making my lashes, we have thousands of options. Self-editing and getting down to that one that you're just like, I hope everybody loves this.
Yeah.
You know, also with making products, there's lead times. You know, you might want to create something in January. It's not coming out till December.
Yeah.
You have no control over that. And sometimes I feel like we find ourselves trying to keep up with trends and like, oh, this is popping right now, so let me create this. And then you've made something that's trendy, and by the time it's come out, it's no longer a thing. And now you're stuck with all these products. So trusting yourself, trusting your vision, knowing that, you know, I'm a firm believer in God. If he gave you the vision, he didn't give it to you for no reason.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of following the steps and the doors that he's going to open for you, and just trusting in that. It's a very difficult place to be. It's very scary. I'm scared all the time. Danessa knows. But every time I look at her, I'm like, you all right, girl? She's like, I'm like, you okay? She's like, yeah. I was like, because I know what it's like. So it's not something that is, you can't avoid it. I went to this this retreat in Dallas. I don't know if you guys know Sarah Jakes, TD Jakes' daughter.
Yes.
And she was talking about resistance, and it's needed in order to build anything. And just like you go to the gym, you're trying to build muscle, you're trying to lose weight, it can't be done without the weights on the bar. So just think of fear and anxiety and all those things as your resistance that's needed for you to build whatever it is that you're building. So don't be, shy from it, but just, welcome it, work through it, fight through it, because once you get on that other side, you won't even think about it. It's gonna be like, whew, I did it, but it's there, it's necessary, and it's not going anywhere else.
That's so true. I feel like what we're all saying is there's so much opportunity in these obstacles that we face. And I think inherently as humans, we're risk adverse, right? Like we want to be comfortable, but then with that comes complacency. So we have to continue to push past that to really take a risk on ourselves. And that is very scary, but those are growth moments. And that's when you reach the next level. And I would love to dig a little deeper into each of your individual journeys. Sheika, we can say with you, I feel like as an editor, I've written about so many of your viral moments on the red carpet. I mean, your roster of clients are incredible. Period. Like, I want you to take us behind the scenes of those moments, because we know backstage and in the hotel room and with your client, there's a lot of chaos, there's energy, everyone's on deadline, there's a strict schedule, but you create such beautiful moments with makeup. What does that creative process look like for you, and what is the inspiration behind that?
Oh, wow, that's a deep question. It's different for each client.
Right.
Some clients are very particular and they want to know what you're going to do days before you even show up. Give me pictures, give me a vision, something. Then you have clients that are not showing you anything until you get there. And then the moment you get there, it's a collaborative process between yourself, the stylist, hair, nails, and all the different things. I'm never one to want to come and make my position be the star, like you have to learn how to edit, you have to learn how to work together. So if I work with a client and they have a certain look, if the look is major, the hair is major, the makeup is not. We know how to keep it subtle, we know how to keep it together. You sometimes have teams that don't know how to work together. Yep. And that's when you have a lot of different things going on at one time. So for me, it's different with each one. I mean, like my most recent situation was with Anuk from Met Gala.
Yes, that's a Met Gala.
Oh!
Oh, man.
Amazing.
Like, wow.
That's cute.
Brought that inner corner back. Okay?
Major.
Yes.
Please give us all these details.
Right.
Well,
No,
okay.
the girls need
Right, what
to
did
know.
you say?
I'm the girl.
Step by step.
First,
The look inspired one.
Sometimes the clients want more than they need, and they have to be able to trust you, and you have to be able to trust your instincts to be able to say, like, that's not gonna work. I know you want that, but that's not gonna work. For this particular look, we had to edit it down, because, all these different stones, she wanted the stones everywhere. One of the looks we were gonna do was like beauty marks, freckles. We were gonna do them with stones. We tried that. It didn't give what we were trying to do. Then she wanted tears. She wanted it to look like she was crying with the stones and the crystals. And I was like, girl, no. We're not doing that. Not with all what you got going on. No. So we did meetings with this particular look. We had meetings, we had Zoom calls. I was able to see what she was wearing and get the color or whatever. And the only thing that came to my mind was really, I wanted to do a blue lash. I'm a lash girl. I've been a lash girl since forever. I used to do the individual lashes back in the day before it was even like a thing. Like we had our lash studio in Miami. So all I wanted to do was a blue lash. So I brought that idea, and then she really wanted her skin to like glow and like really be highlighted. Now, Anuk has the same complexion as our beautiful Simi here. And the products that are available for her highlight are not there yet. They're working on it, but we haven't gotten there yet. So I knew what she wanted. She showed me some pictures, and I go, okay, well, your outfit is the look. You don't need anything else. Let's just polish you up and make you look beautiful. She's a gold bar. Gold bars don't need nothing on it.
Yes.
Just polish them up and they shine on the shelf. So that's all that we were going for, and it just worked. The hair was polished, and everything else was able to shine, because of that. So that's how we kind of, got that particular look. But if I'd have followed her, she would have had tears. She'd have had, had everything on there because she wanted it. But you have to just, maybe a beginner artist who's just starting out would have probably been like, okay, girl, you want tears, I'm gonna give you the best tears you've ever seen in your life. But that doesn't go with everything else that's happening. And then you end up having a red carpet moment where it's like, what were they thinking? But no one was thinking. The makeup artist was thinking about what they wanted to do. The hair person was thinking about what they wanted to do. No one was thinking collaboratively. So we came together to make that, and that's how, that's
Major.
how
Major. So major. So good. Simi, I also absolutely love how you have a great voice on social media. We love just hearing your hot takes, your opinions. Whenever I'm on my For You page and I see like Simi's about to speak, I'm like, okay, let me listen. But I also love that outside of that, you've created Seen in Black. I love the message of visibility you share for all women. And I want to know what inspired that moment.
Yeah, so funny enough, I had wrote a poem about feeling like invisible as a Black woman. And I think for me, the poem was like an ode to Black women, Black girls everywhere being like, I see you, I am you, like I love you, And I was never actually gonna do anything else with that poem. Like it was just gonna be a poem and that was it. But it really resonated with a lot of people like around the world, and I was very shocked by the response. So I decided to make it into a T-shirt, which then like became a whole thing. And I think when it really kind of, I guess, like took off was during the Breonna Taylor case, where, I mean, we know what happened. But it really, I think it was kind of like a reminder to Black women across the world that like you're not invisible. No matter how much the world will try to invisibilize you. No matter how much the world will try to erase you, discard you, discredit you. So for me, I think, and this also like even relates to beauty, it's like, I just want Black women all the time, of all shapes, of all complexions, of all ethnicities, to feel seen and to feel heard and to feel respected, especially. And it's funny because I actually had to like take a step away from it because I just could not. I think I went through a lot of like emotional turmoil after Breonna Taylor. Like I think for me that was like I'm good off this because like it's really disheartening watching the world discredit us all the time for everything, like I mean, and then it gets harder when we get platforms like TikTok where obviously like our global connectivity is even stronger and even larger than it's ever been, and we're watching people like put gold hoops and put on lip gloss and call it an aesthetic, and it's like, girl,
That part.
I'm from the hood in Philly, like those are the girls that are around me, like they've been doing that, So it's just, it gets really hard to be in that space and also like be in the creator space because I just watched the erasure happen so much. But one day I will garner the capacity to kind of get back to that space because I really want it to be, I really, really want it to be a safe space for Black women. Like, and I really actually mean that. I think a lot of times like, there are spaces that are promoted to be that aren't that, that are like these very like capitalistic ventures, and I think I don't want it to be that. Like I really actually want people to feel safe and centered and able to be their authentic selves. So,
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so true. And Julissa, I feel like you've spent years. Ooh.
No. Are we gonna shoot off the stage?
We have
They
two.
said
We have
enough.
two more, real quick. I know we want to hear this. I love how you've been in front of the camera for years. TRL, iconic. I want to know from all of your years being in front of the camera, what are the lessons that you've learned about skin and makeup and how you've applied that to your brand? Because we've all sat in many makeup chairs, some, you know, good, some bad. But I'm sure a lot of that inspired how you have created your brand.
It's definitely inspired where I'm at with balancing content creating and pivoting into that and social media in general, because that didn't exist when I first started. So I share the things that I did learn along the way.
Yeah.
I recently did a TikTok where I think this could also answer your question, where I realized I don't always have to match my eyeshadow to my outfit. It just, it's not always, like I don't always,
Right.
I used to be so neurotic with like the exact shade,
Oh my
with
God.
the exact shade, and you know, it didn't have to be tears. So I've learned so much,
Right.
and you learn about yourself, and you learn about how important diversity is, because back then also, I mean, I look older back then. When I first started on Telemundo, they used to do the makeup. Whoa. I look older back then than I ever look now, but because it was, to say the least, a beat. But the colors were just so off because the range wasn't there, and it was just gray and not it. But yeah, you just learn about how important diversity is in products and what's available and so on and so forth.
I love that.
Because we are strapped for time, I know.
So good. So good. And it would behoove us not to talk about the dynamic Danessa Myricks. I have a face full of Danessa Myricks on. We all love yummy skin. Just how has this process been for you? Color creation and color cosmetics, it's your magic and your gift to the world. Just tell us a little bit about that. This is the finale, please.
Right.
I mean, for me, it's been everything. I just remember just my journey as a Black woman and what was not available for me. And being incredibly inspired just right in this moment, just hearing you say, I have my own face. Like, that's an irreplaceable moment. But I also think about, like, the brands that I've worked with, and I just have very clear memories of like creating ranges of products and then seeing what actually made it to the world and hearing all those conversations about like, you know, who this makeup is for and why this particular group of people would never wear this or buy this or be able to afford it, and all of the things in between. And I just know just my journey as an artist, my journey as an educator, just my, look at this panel, like we're all, like, look at the room. Like, I want to speak for everyone sitting in these chairs and the people who aren't here too. I really believe that there is, that a brand can think of everyone at all times and do it well. So for me, the journey is a tricky one because not everybody believes that. Like I can want to make anything that I want to make, but I need other people to participate. I need a lab. I need a contract manufacturer who understands all of that, and all of that has not changed yet, right? And so there's so much work to do, but my commitment is to make sure that whatever I put my fingers on, like people know that there is love in it, and that I thought very deeply about them. And when they touch it, they're gonna know that, hey, somebody sees me, somebody's here for me, like I'm not invisible, right? And so this brand is a gift, not just for me, it's for future generations, it's for the people in this room, it's for this panel, it's for the people, how they make me feel, how I feel seen now because of how people are participating, it's for all of us. So there's nothing more beautiful than having the opportunity to be able to create in this way.
Amazing.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. Such an incredible panel. I mean, true beauty bosses. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us.